Welcome to Truth and Heart Unfiltered with Pam Glenn. I'm Pam Glenn, and as many of you know, I'm a certified nurse midwife. And just to review, over the many years of my career, I've trained healthcare teams on how they can effectively screen their patients for the issue of relationship abuse. It's a very significant health issue. In fact, it's so important that I want to share this information with all of you, one post at a time. This is my 5th post. Today, I'll be talking with you about the types of abuse. Now, as you learn about each type, I want you to keep in mind the impact that each type can have on a victim's mindset. Now, previously, I talked about the stereotypes of abuse that we might hold in our brains about this issue. And during that time, it was noted that oftentimes we hear the word abuse, and the first thing we think of is physical abuse or violence. So let's start there with our first category, physical abuse. Now, I'm sure you're all aware physical abuse can involve scratching, hitting, punching, shoving, throwing somebody against the wall, shaking them, throwing them down the steps, burning, using a weapon. Strangling is a common form of physical abuse as well. And I've learned over the years that strangulation is the most common cause of traumatic brain injuries in victims. Now, let's also look briefly at the evolution that's happened when it comes to physical abuse. When I first started doing these talks over 30 years ago, the research showed at that time that with physical abuse, it was most commonly done by males towards their female partners. Now again, it's important to acknowledge that abuse happens in all different types of relationships with people of all different backgrounds, including all different sexual orientations. But the statistics now are showing that physical abuse can commonly occur with males being on the receiving end. So males are more commonly now on the receiving end of physical abuse, and that is a significant change. Let's look now at the second category of abuse, emotional abuse. Emotional abuse, as I've stated previously, may be happening. In fact, it's often the first thing that happens when a relationship is starting to become abusive. But somebody may be getting emotionally abused and there may be no physical violence going on at all. It's still abuse. Emotional abuse can be extremely destructive and damaging to a person's life. Now, the third category is sexual abuse, forcing somebody to do something sexually they don't want to do. For both emotional and sexual abuse, I'm going to be taking the behaviors involved in each of these categories. I'm going to be breaking them down in a future post and discussing them individually, so more detail to come on that. Now, another category of abuse is sleep deprivation. This is where the abuser doesn't allow their partner to go to sleep, or if they are asleep, they continuously wake them through the night. It's often been said that sleep deprivation is a form of torture in wartime, and it happens in these relationships as well. We also know that sleep deprivation can have a huge impact on people's health, both short-term health and long-term health, including difficulty concentrating, memory issues, difficulty solving problems, as well as a whole host of physical impacts. All right. Now, I recently read a story a female victim shared on a specific domestic violence website, her story of how her abuser used sleep deprivation within their relationship. She said that her abuser would wait until she fell asleep and then would physically attack her in the middle of the night. When she thought he had allowed her to go back to sleep, as soon as she'd close her eyes, he would wake her. And then the next day, she was expected to stay awake throughout the whole day. And if he caught her sleeping, he would wake her yet again. So this is sleep deprivation. It's a form of abuse. Spiritual abuse is another type of abuse. The abuser may use religion to try to assert their superiority over their partner, to try to have that power and control over their partner. The abuser may insult their partner for their spiritual beliefs. They may prevent their partner from practicing their religion. The abuser may use the partner's spiritual beliefs to manipulate them, to shame them. The abuser may also use religious texts to try to rationalize their abusive behavior towards their partner. That's spiritual abuse. Another category of abuse or type of abuse is financial abuse. This is where the abuser has total control of the money. Now, this is often called the invisible weapon. And a study found that about 75% of survivors stayed with their abusive partners longer due to the financial abuse, because the partners were feeling financially trapped due to the financial abuse that was happening. They had no control of the money. Now, another example that I saw play out with financial abuse was this. I used to go to a battered women's shelter once a week. I helped them to get updated on their health care when I was there. And I noticed that maybe there would be a new resident at the shelter. And I don't mean to sound over dramatic by saying this, but I often saw just this sort of glazed look over their eyes. But the joy came when I went every week after that, and I saw light returning to their eyes. They were learning more about abuse, about the situations they had lived through. They were healing, they were getting stronger. It was awesome to see. But it was also really challenging, because when they were ready to leave the shelter, because of financial abuse, they may have had a poor credit rating due to the financial abuse done by their abuser. So oftentimes it was really challenging then for them to find housing. Now, another type of abuse is digital abuse, and this is where the abuser uses technology or the internet to bully, harass, to intimidate their partner, maybe even stalk their partner. The abuser might demand that their partner shares their passwords, so the abuser again can have power and control over that and watch them constantly, including whatever they may be doing on the computer. The abuser may frequently send unwanted communications digitally. The abuser may threaten or actually post inappropriate or personal information about their partner. They may even spy or monitor their partner's activities by using listening devices, monitoring software, and cameras. So that's digital abuse. Now, the final category of abuse that I'm going to talk about today is stalking. This is where the abuser is constantly following, watching their partner, probably harassing them as well, and this leads to the partner feeling very afraid and unsafe. Now, we rarely see just one type of abuse happening. Usually they're co-occurring, all at the same time, or a few different types of abuse happening at once. So again, we've talked about physical, emotional, and sexual abuse, sleep deprivation, spiritual abuse, financial abuse, digital abuse, and stalking. Next, my next post is going to address, why do people stay in these relationships? What is the process of leaving if they choose to leave? So that'll be my next post. Please watch for it in the near future. As always, if you need assistance with this issue, please check out the hotline numbers. They're in the video descriptions along with each post. You can call 24/7. An advocate is available to you 24/7 if you need help. And if you're in any danger, please always call 911 immediately. Now, one more note, please subscribe and set up your notifications so that when I have a new post, you get a quick alert that a new post is out there to take in and to watch. And I urge you also to feel free to comment, give me feedback. I welcome that as well. Most importantly, please share this YouTube link with others, family, friends, acquaintances, people at work, people at school, wherever you may be, because you never know how this information may positively and significantly impact someone's life. Thank you so much for your time today. Take care and stay safe. Bye-bye.